Happy New Year! So it's 2015 and I want to try to record more videos more often. I kind of fell off at the end of 2014 because I felt like I had many things to say about a lot of the things I talk about, like comics and diversity and art in general. But it was all very angry and just rage-filled, and it doesn't really add to the conversation. So this year I want to kind of just push through that and really add to the conversation about comics and making art and diversity and things that I talk about on the channel. I'm going to try to do it more often. It's kind of a resolution, but more like a personal goal. If I don't record something one week, it means I was too busy doing other stuff, hopefully working on projects and getting art done. Or just I didn't have anything nice to say. So sometimes I will not say nice things, but if it's really pissy, I'll try not to, subject you to that. But today I want to talk about getting into digital art, which is probably something I've covered in the past, but it bears repeating. And this comes from an email I got. Somebody was interested in getting into digital art, and I started typing out this long essay about all the things that you might want to consider. And I figured, well, I speak like I write like I speak, and I speak quicker than I can type, so might as well just make a video and share my thoughts with the world. It's actually kind of a vague question because to me, digital art includes things like digital illustration or digital painting or making comics or doing those vector drawings that you could print it out on nice G-clay, stuff like that. But it also includes things like 3D modeling, whether it's for 3D printing or video games or movies or animated shorts. There's animation, there's CG compositing, there's effects animation with like After Effects and particle effects and all this kind of stuff. That all falls under this bigger umbrella of what I consider to be digital art. So it's kind of a vague question. Like the things that you want to do to get into digital painting are different than the things that you want to do to get into something like digital sculpting with ZBrush and things like that. But there are a couple of general things that every digital artist must consider when they're getting started. So first we're going to talk about hardware, then we're going to transition into software. But before I get into that, the only thing that I want you to remember from this, if you have a bad memory and you just turn this off right after I say the one thing, the one thing I want you to always remember is to be frugal with your money. It is very, very tempting to buy the latest and greatest gadget, especially when it comes to digital tablets or software, the newest software, and a lot of these softwares come with a subscription fee now, which is freaking irritating. But it's very tempting. Like every time Wacom releases something like their new digital companion tablets, oh my God, like when that dropped, I was tempted to look at Hazel and be like, sorry baby, your college tuition is going to this new fancy toy that daddy needs to get his work done, but daddy doesn't need a new friggin' tablet to get his work done. So it's very tempting to get all that new stuff and the newest, greatest program. But the sad truth is a new toy isn't going to make you a better artist. A new piece of software is not going to make you a better artist. If you get the latest like 5D mouse and the newest version of Maya and all that kind of stuff, and you've never cracked open a personal learning edition, you're not going to know how. It's not going to make you model any better. It's not going to make you do anything better. You're still going to have to learn all this fundamental crap that you've skipped over because you just decided to jump in with a whole bunch of cash, and you might find out that you suck at it and you don't actually like what you're doing. So be frugal with your money. Try out all that software ahead of time. Most of these software companies offer personal learning editions that are free, that will allow you to just get in and play with it. There's going to be a huge watermark on any image that you produce. But guess what? You're learning how to use the thing. A lot of the hardware that you can buy, like tablets and things like that, a lot of the entry-level ones come bundled with illustration software. Like I think Wacom offers a deal on Amazon where you can get like Manga Studio and a tablet, or sometimes Amazon has deals, sometimes Wacom has deals, sometimes Manga Studio has deals. All these companies have deals that you can find, so do your research. But please, 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 please be very frugal with your money. It's way too easy to get into the new toy creep and get excited about all that shit. And if you can't draw on paper and you can't draw in the thing, getting a Wacom companion, you're still gonna draw like shit. So save your money until it's time, until you feel ready, until you figured out that this is a thing that I can't live without. Drawing comics digitally is a thing I can't live without. Sculpting things is a thing I can't live without. That's when you make the investment. And still continue to do their research, because every year they update the hardware, the software, and they make you want to buy another thing. So, all right, so be frugal with your money. Rule number 1. That's the only rule you ever need to remember about digital art. All right, so let's talk about hardware. I am not actually a hardware guy. I have friends who are really good with hardware and making their own PCs and speccing out laptops and stuff like that. So my knowledge begins and ends with, like, how to turn on the computer and maybe how to run a defragger. But one thing I do know is whatever machine you end up buying, you want a lot of RAM. All of these art programs require a lot of RAM to process all that stuff. So the more RAM you can get into your machine, the better. If you have a gaming laptop and you can run the current generation of games, you're set. You're probably set. You have top of the line graphics card. You already have a whole bunch of RAM in there. You can already run all the 3D stuff on there. If you can run like the latest Call of Duty, you can probably run Photoshop. So if you're watching this on a souped up gaming laptop, you're set. You're ready to go. Get yourself some Photoshop and do a thing. If you're trying to spec out a gaming laptop, I don't know what to tell you, again, because I'm not a hardware guy, but RAM. Go to the mountains, get a RAM, shove it into your computer, figure it out, all the RAM you can get. I had an older MacBook Pro, which was kind of chugging along with Photoshop. I think it was like CS5 or something like that. And I figured out how to upgrade the RAM and broke it open, unscrewed it, installed it, and it screamed like a demon. It was great. So the more RAM you can stuff into your machine, the better. When it comes to input devices, these are things like tablets or mice or stuff like that. Now, you don't need a tablet. I personally feel that it helps your productivity as an artist, but sometimes there's a disconnect that you have to get used to. Like, if you're drawing, if your hand is moving here, but what you're seeing is happening over here, that can be a little bit of a disconnect. So like, your $99 tablet it's not going to have a screen that you can draw on. I think actually Monoprice has a couple of models that are pretty affordable that are monitors that you can draw on. But I feel like a tablet input device will help your productivity. Don't have to get one. I'm not telling you to get one, because there are plenty of people out there who do just fine with a 2-button mouse. There's a guy, Adam Hughes, a very well-known comic book artist. He does a lot of good girl covers and stuff like that. He uses a mouse to do all of his digital coloring. It's just, mask, click, mask, click, mask, click. It's all in a mouse. And all the stuff he does looks so gorgeous. It's like painterly, soft transitions, all that stuff. It's all with a friggin' mouse. So you don't need to get a tablet to do that kind of stuff. For me, the way I work, I prefer a tablet. Even if I'm using ZBrush, because I do a little bit of 3D sculpting too. The tablet interface it feels better. You could do a lot of pressure things and all that kind of stuff. You don't need one, but I highly recommend a tablet of some kind. The brand I'm most familiar with is Wacom, just because I'm too lazy to go out and try other stuff. There's another company out there called Monoprice. The drivers aren't always the best with Monoprice, from what I understand, but I don't have any first-hand experience. So I highly recommend you go on YouTube and check out reviews on Monoprice stuff. There are a couple other tablet manufacturers out there, but Monoprice is the one that's come up in the past couple of years, because they have a very affordable Wacom-like thing where you can actually draw on the monitor. And that's much less of a mental disconnect. So, if you decide that digital illustration is the way you want to go, you might eventually want to save up your money for a digital tablet that you can draw on. You don't have to. Remember, be frugal. Don't get one like 3 months into your digital art career, because 3 months isn't really enough time to really get into this kind of stuff. So hardware, do your research, get things, digitizer, tablet, that kind of stuff. As far as software goes, most of the companies out there that focus on digital artists offer either a personal learning edition of their software that gives you all the functionality but has this great big ugly watermark when you output like the final thing. It'll say like, this is a personal learning edition and stuff. Or they'll have free versions of the software that have fewer functionalities, but you know, the basic stuff. Like I think there's a free version of ZBrush. It's not called ZBrush, but they have a sculpting program that you can use. There's free versions of Photoshop out there. I think CS2, Creative Suite 2, they're just giving out away. It's not necessarily compatible with the latest operating systems, but I think CS2 is available for free. But you know, there's 30-day trials of stuff. If you're a student, you can get all of this software dirt cheap. So if you're a student, abuse that as much as you can. You know, use that student discount to get the stuff that you want to try. Amazon runs a lot of sales on things like I think I picked up Manga Studio for $30, and it was a great investment because I use that for my comic now. And I can do like intricate ink work. I can do pencil sketching, and it looks like I'm, you know, scanning pencils from a piece of paper. So go out and try stuff. Just try stuff. Don't just go to the Photoshop because everyone uses Photoshop. Everyone uses Photoshop because back in the day, that was the only thing we had. And Photoshop was meant for photos. So all of us digital artists using it had to figure out all these tricks. But now there's so much out there in the marketplace that people have figured out what works for digital artists and created programs that are tailored to them. Like there's Manga Studio, Sketchbook Pro. I love Sketchbook Pro. There's something called Mischief, which is sort of like a vector program that you can infinitely zoom in. I think I did a review of an early version of Mischief on one of these, on a previous video. But you know, they have a free version, they have a pay version. There's Art Rage, which simulates oil paints and acrylic paints and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of programs out there that you can get free versions of, and some of them are actually free, and you can play around with them and figure out what works for you. I would highly encourage you to try as much stuff as you can. You might find that the more things are different from the various programs, some of them keep, you know, similar functions. You know, I know Photoshop backwards and forwards, and some of those hotkeys work on other programs, some of them don't, so it's a little bit confusing. But it behooves you to try out as much stuff out there as possible, because you know, sometimes newer versions of software will do things that completely break your workflow, and you might want to try something else that is tailored to your stuff. So if you don't try out everything, you're not going to know. So get your hands dirty, try out all that stuff, and they make it really easy for you. You don't even have to torrent stuff and steal it. You know, you can get free versions of this shit already, or very affordable versions of this stuff out there. So try everything. Don't just go the Photoshop route, you know. And I would highly suggest you not go directly to Photoshop, because the learning curve is like, woo, shit. So yeah, so there's a lot of other programs out there that are tailored specifically for artists. Photoshop is still trying to do everything for everybody. So yeah, so big things: be frugal with your money, be frugal with your input devices, RAM, and try all the software that you can. And those are the big things that I would recommend for anyone interested in getting into any kind of digital art. All right, so that'll do it for this video. If you guys have other suggestions that you would make for specific areas, like if you have specific things for digital sculptors or digital illustrators or painters and things like that, feel free to add them in the comments wherever you see this video. And hopefully I will see you next week when I have something else to say about stuff. All right, thanks. Bye.